Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Shahmin bin Muhammad Shukran. I am from EC110-4D. My matrix number is 2019-240714. Today, I will present my mini project ECG 263 that will be checked by Madam Farah Wahida binti Muhammad Latif. Okay, for the contents in this presentation is include introduction, methodology, finding, discussion, conclusion, and reference. For the introduction of this mini project is the student has been given a several experiment that they need to use it to solve the problems at their area. Students also need to conduct the experiment that they use to solve the problems based on the fundamental concept of soil. The experiment must comply every single concept to fulfill the task. For the methodology and finding. The methodology of the water content. To conduct the experiment, we need the apparatus, which is soil sample, weighing balance, plastic container, and plastic container. So the procedure of the experiment is the first one we need to weight the empty glass container and label it as M1. Then we need to put the wet soil sample into the glass container and label it as W2 M2. Then after that we need to weight the sample M2 in weighing balance. After that, we need to put the soil under the sun for 6 hours and the sample will be the M3. Then we weight the M3. Repeat the step 1 until 5 to do for second sample. And after the experiment is finished, we need to do the calculation and get the moisture content of the soil. This is the findings of water content. For the first experiment, I have get 34% of moisture content in the soil, and for the experiment 2, I get 35.08%. So the average moisture content for this experiment that I have get is 34.54%. Next, I continue to particle density test. To conduct the experiment, we need the apparatus like plastic container with lid, digital scale, soil sample, water, wash bottle, and vacuum. Okay, this is the picture of the experiment that I have to. For the first step, to do this experiment, we need to clean and dry the plastic container. Then we weight the empty container and mark as W2. Then we put some soil sample into the container carefully and weight it as sample W2. After that, we pour the water into the container that contains soil sample about 20 milliliter. Then it was put in the vacuum without the lid for 1 hour. After that, after we put the soil sample in the vacuum for 1 hour, we poured the water into the bottle and it was completely filled without any type of bubble. Then the lid was put on. Then we need to wipe the excess water at the container with tissues. Then we weight the soil sample and label as W3. After finish with a sample W3, we need to clean the container and need to dry it well. After that, we put the water until full and then weight it and label as W4. After that, repeat step 1 to 9 for the next experiment. This is the findings. This is the expected findings for particle density. This is the expected data for particle density test. Uh, the expected data shown that for the experiment 1, the specific gravity of the sample is 2.52, experiment 2, 1.78, and experiment 3 is 2.3. So the average of the 3 experiment is 2.2. Next, I continue to particle size grading and texture. To conduct this experiment, the apparatus we need is weighing balance, set of sieve, lead and receiver pen, soil sample, mechanical shaker, and brush. As you can see, the right point is the procedure. Okay, this is the picture of the test that I have do. To do this experiment, for the first step, we need to prepare the dry soil sample. Then we need to record the weight of the soil sample. After that, we need to clean the each of the sieve to be used, and we need to weight each of the sieve. After that, we arrange the sieve with the largest opening of the sieve at the top to the smallest at the bottom, and then place the pen at the bottom. After that, we fill the soil sample. I have filled the soil sample in 2 sieves and place cap over it. And this is the sieve that I have put in the mechanical shaker. This one is mechanical shaker. Place the sieve in the mechanical shaker and shake for 15 minutes. After that, we remove. After the experiment have been done, we need to remove each sieve and weighted it to get the mass of the retained soil. And this is the picture of the retained soil that I have weighted. Okay, this is the expected data that I have obtained for this experiment. Okay, for the experiment, the percent of the gravel is 65.2%, sand is 34.3%, set 0.5%. The soil that I have used is well graded, very sandy gravel. Okay, next we continue to density test. To conduct the density test, we need the apparatus like pouring cylinder, sand, weighing balance, scraper, hammer, metal tray, and plastic container. And this in this uh, right side, this is the procedure. Okay, this is the picture of procedure of density test. Uh, to to do this experiment, the first step is we need to find a location to be excavate. Then we place the metal tray on the hole that want to excavate. Uh, then we lock the metal tray with a steel to make sure that tray is not moving. Then we continue to we excavate the soil about 3/4 of of hand. Then the loose soil that we excavate is need to be carefully collected in the method 3, and the loose soil is weighted. Then the sand, then this is the apparatus that I have replaced sand pouring cylinder. This is sand pouring cylinder. The sand pouring cylinder is placed centrally over the excavated hole. Then the shutter is open till the sand fills the excavated hole and the cone completely until there is no further movement of sand in the cylinder. The shutter is closed and the cylinder is weighed so that the weight of sand filling the excavated hole alone can be found. Uh, the moisture content of the the moisture content of the excavated soil is determined by taking a sample of soil from it in moisture content dish, wet, dry, under the sun for 6 hours and reweighing. Okay, this is the soil that I have, the loose soil that I have excavated, and this is the picture of the soil that through the drying process, and this is the picture of um, and this is the picture that I weighed the soil sample after through the drying process. And this is the Ottawa sand. This is the original weight of Ottawa sand before I use it to fill the hole. And this is the current weight of Ottawa sand after I use for sand replacement testing. And for the expected data that I have obtained is mass of sand inside cylinder plus cone sand is equal to 0.075 kilogram, and mass of cone sand is 0.494 kilogram. Mass of sand inside cylinder is 1.581 kilogram, and this is the density of pouring sand. The value is 1342.12 kilogram per meter cube, and this is the final total mass of sand pouring cylinder. The value is 7.127. Mass of sand is 0.494 kilogram. Mass of soil removed from hole is 1.985 kilogram. Mass of soil after oven dry is 1.914 kilogram, and this is the result of moisture content of removed soil is 3.71%. Okay, this is the last experiment, which is permeability, and this method is eye improvisation by falling head method. So to conduct the experiment, the apparatus needed is a filter plastic bottle, fine grained soil, water, and stopwatch. And the procedure to conduct this experiment is, the first step is we need to drill a few small holes at the bottom of the bottle. Then label the bottle with 4 level point above the soil and pour the soil, and then we pour the soil into the bottle. Then we compact the soil. Then after that, we pour the water into a filter containing soil. At the same time, start the stopwatch. We pour the water into filter containing soil, and the same time start the stopwatch. And after that, we record the time for the water to reach H1 to H2, H2 to H3, H3 to H4. And this is the expected data that I have obtained for the experiment. This is which is uh, the overall average coefficient of permeability of soil sample is 1.854 times time times 10 the power of negative 6. And this is the discussion for the mini project. So while performing the experiment, same precautions need to be taken to ensure that the final result to be observed is accurate. So the first one is we need to use the right method and equipment to prevent any incident. This is because during I do this experiment, I have used the apparatus based on the home tools. So mostly the apparatus that I have do is not suitable to do the experiment. So the data that I have get might differently with the expected data. But the objective I do this project is because to show and how to conduct the experiment with right way and to get the right data, we need to we need to do the experiment. And the second one is make sure the sample that want to use is on perfectly conditioned. As example, if the soil is want to be used is a perfectly dry soil, so we need to make sure that the soil is dry and have no water inside them. And lastly, we need to make sure the time period during we performing the experiment is enough to get a better result. And this is the discussion for the each experiment. For experiment water content, the average moisture content of the soil at my area that I have get is 34.54%. For the experiment particle density, the specific gravity for experiment 1 is 2.52, experiment 2 is 1.78, and experiment 3 is 2.3. And the average specific gravity at this of these three experiment is 2.2. And for the third experiment is a particle size, gradient, and texture. The percentage of the gravel uh, is 35.2%, sand is 34.3%, and silt is 0.5%. The classification of the soil is well graded, very sandy gravel. And the fourth experiment is field density. The density of the sand is 1342.12 kilogram per meter cube, and the moisture content of the soil is 3.71%. And for the last experiment is experiment permeability. The average coefficient of permeability of soil sample is 1.854 times 10 of the power of negative 6. Okay, this is the conclusion of the mini project. As a conclusion, this project is to make sure that the students show appropriate technique to soil engineering problem with an awareness of the limitation. A student also can determine the right experiment for every fundamental concept that state in the question. The result of the experiment is depending on the ingredient and the type of the soil sample. The result also depends on how the experiment is being conducted. And the last one is reference. This is the reference that I used to finish my mini project. Okay, that's all from me. Assalamualaikum.